Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. That's what you're going to need moving forward. The good news is nobody's in your way, so you got to do it yourself. That's also the bad news. You got to do it yourself. And you're going to need leverage. You're going to need to prove to people that you have a track record, that you can write songs, that you're serious about writing your songs and making those demos, that you're serious about being an artist, and you have a business that's going. That's where people are going to perk up and you're going to get to the next level. That's why we called it The Climb, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a Baxtronym if you haven't heard that before. What is a Baxtronym? It's like an acronym created by our good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you can write like a pro, do business like a pro. And on a regular, he connects you with the pros. You can find Brent at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. So basically what that means is if you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists such as Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
How you doing, brother?
Hanging in there. So we just got back from a Make-A-Wish trip with Quill to Disney, and glad we went before every public place in the country shuts down. And I'm just trying to recover from that because we walked our legs off and we're tired and we ate way too much ice cream. But it was good.
I'm jealous.
It was good.
You got to see Mickey Mouse. All right.
I got to see Mickey Mouse a couple times. Hey, Mickey, you see me again? Yeah.
Well, right on. So what are we gonna get into today?
Man, today we are going to do a hit song breakdown. So hopefully y'all have heard this. If you haven't heard it yet, it's hot off the presses. You will be hearing it soon. It's Kenny Chesney's new single called Here Now. And I think there are lessons in here for aspiring pro songwriters. For if you want to write hits, study success. And Kenny did not write this song. This is an outside cut. We're going to study this thing and see what lessons we can tease out for you to help you on your journey.
Awesome. Real quick, Kenny doesn't write, does he?
He does some, yeah. He's written a few of his hits, yeah, but not a ton. I didn't know that. Yeah, okay. He writes a little bit. He's a good writer, but doesn't write a ton.
Good for him. Who did write it?
Oh, this is, let's see here. This one in particular is Craig Wiseman. Shocker. He's awesome. So Craig Wiseman, David Lee Murphy, and David Garcia.
Nice. David Lee Murphy from Dust on the Bottle.
Dust on the Bottle and Everything Gonna Be All Right. And
there you go.
A bunch of stuff he's written. So,
all right. Well, I can't wait to dig into that. Let's just jump into a little bit of business here first. It's a digital world out there, but all of our Daredevil artists know that there's a very important role for physical media with today's independent musician. The digital royalty payments are so small, selling products like CD, vinyl, T-shirts, these things at gigs, even though they're not the normal mode of how people consume music anymore, if they still want that stuff at a live gig, and that's what's going to be an income generator. It's going to get you to the next town, going to get the gas in the tank. And I mean, literally in your tank, in the van, or whatever you're driving to the next gig, and also figuratively, get the gas in your tank, get you some food, get you some sustenance.
That's right. Because, we love streaming. We wish people like Spotify would stop being jerks and would actually pay people, writers what they deserve. But streaming is where it's at, right? There's a lot of streaming, but it takes 3,000 streams to equal one CD sale, like at a live show. That's a lot of streams to equal one sale. So we believe that you are leaving money on the table when you don't have merch on the table. Thankfully, our friends at Disc Makers are the place to go for your disc and other physical media, including vinyl, USB drives, and even T-shirts. You can find them online at discmakers.com. That is DISCmakers.com, or you can give them a call at 800-468-9353. That's 800-468-9353.
Awesome. Hey, if you haven't joined the Climb community, please do so. It's growing every single day. active community of singers, songwriters, indie artists, musicians, people helping people, talking about exposure, talking about different tricks that they're doing to grow their brand, getting together for songwrites, connecting on songwrites. Is that where Bill O'Hanlon connected with Paul DeMarco?
Quite possibly in the group. I don't know. I know they're both around. They're both active.
I want to take credit for that. I want to be like, you're welcome, but we're not sure.
We're not sure, right?
But listen, lots of relationships being made in there. So we welcome you to join the C.L.I.M.B community. It's on Facebook. Ask to be let in. We let everybody in, but it is a private group. And if you're not careful, or if you spout some crazy crap like last week, we will roadhouse you out and delete delete the post. Yeah. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you consume podcasts, so you get every episode, and you can go back and cherry pick some of the ones that speak to you, some of the titles that speak to you. Tell a friend about it. That's the best thing you could do for Brent and I. If it matters to you, if you're finding inspiration, if you're learning stuff, if this is valuable to you, if this content works, tell somebody else about it. We are trying to grow our audience, and if it comes from you, it's 100% true. If it comes from us, 50% true, Yeah. And then finally, leave a rating and review. We're trying to get to 200.
That's right. We're trying to get there. We're on the climb too.
So we've been meaning to do it. It just takes 30 seconds. Get on there. Leave an honest review. We hope it's a 5-star, but we've also read the 1 stars and the 2 stars and the people who despise us.
That's right.
We read that too, just to keep it real.
That's right. And speaking of the C.L.I.M.B community, I always try to share a couple new heights from our members. And so I just want to share a couple of those, let you know that we're not the only ones in that community. So Taylor C. Hughes Hubert, I guess, announced on here, getting ready to announce some big news. Y'all stay tuned. My single Good Taste is coming. So she posted that in the C.L.I.M.B community. Every Wednesday we do the New Heights segment, so you can share your wins with the community. And we got a bunch on here. I'm just cherry picking a couple. Paul DeMarco, speaking to him, said, well, I'm proper made up because Blackwater Lake, who he's written with and produced, scored a support slot for the mighty Leonard Skinner at the Arizona Bike Week on April 4th. He goes, I can't believe my songs that I've had a part in writing will be played on the same stage just before Skinner goes on. That's awesome.
That's killer.
Yeah.
That's killer. I love that. Good
it's that fun stuff as a writer. Thankfully, I had a bunch of cuts, but even like independent cuts where they might cover one of my songs and then cover a Merle Haggard song. And you're like, wow. Even though this thing Go Plywood sales, it's like, I'm on the record with so-and-so. Or, your song gets played on the same stage as somebody else. Or, of course, if you're on a big record, that's always great. But it's like all these little things that are just like somewhat associated with my song's going to get played right before Skinner plays like Freebird on the same stage. That's awesome. Phenomenal. I love that stuff. That's a good reminder of those steps and that climb that is so exciting.
Yeah, and guess what? You can't win if you don't play. You got to write that song. You got to finish writing it. You got to get a demo done somehow, some way, some kind of demo, and you got to work it. You got to get it to some people, and
that's right.
And you got to be willing to improve and take that feedback and grow. It's not about the first 3 songs. See how they do, and then I'm going to decide if I'm serious about this.
Right.
You got that itch to scratch, then scratch it.
That's right.
All right, where we at? Let's break down this song.
All right, so Kenny Chesney's new single, which we mentioned, is written by Craig Wiseman, David Garcia, and David Lee Murphy. So 3 hit songwriters. And we're just going to dive into this and see what we can learn from this. And so I believe we can play about 30 seconds of this. So we're going to play just a hair of this, and we're just going to kind of break it down for you. So
you're going to start in right on the verse and leave out
I'm going to start on the beginning here, just because I'm going to make a little point of that.
Okay.
And we're just going to play it here, and hopefully you will be able to hear it all right on your end. Let's see here. If not, it's going to be awkward.
Seen the skyline of New York City, fireflies in Tennessee, sipped a little shine from a paper sack that'll knock the horns off a Cadillac.
Wait, what is that? Is that tempo? Okay, so that's one of the first lessons right there is, hey, you know what? We got some tempo going on. Kenny's team put out the word that he wanted like stadio tempo anthems. And guess what? That's exactly what Craig and David whipped up for him. Kenny plays big shows, and this song plays for a big show. If you listen through the whole thing, which I encourage you to do that, because this episode will make a whole lot more sense, you can just hear it being played at a big stadium show, big stadium rock country show. And that's the first lesson is serve the artist. The artist wanted a big tempo anthem. And this song on broad strokes checks those boxes. It's tempo. It's not a ballad. And it is an anthem. When we talk about the idea of it, it's a big, relevant, universal idea about living in the here and now. It's not a big complex story. It's not something that's really just kind of off the wall, odd. No, it's like enjoy the moment you're in. Live in the moment.
Yeah. It's a highbrow lyric to a party song.
It's basically a party song. Yeah. Or whatever kind of moment you're in kind of song.
It's not about drinking or anything, but it's just about when you are in the moment here and now at that stadium show watching Kenny Chesney, you're jumping up and down because it's a tempo song and we're here and now, we're having a blast. It's all about now.
Oh, yeah. And that's one thing I love about it. Okay, so the first thing is serve the artist. That's what they were looking for. We all got word. He's looking for big stadium anthems. And guess what? Oh, wow, that's the first single. Okay, there we go. So give the artist what they're asking for. Yeah. Right? That helps. Somebody's wanting to eat a hamburger. You make more sales if you're selling hamburgers. So that's the big thing. But also help the artist serve the audience. And so what you're talking about, Johnny, this song is perfect for a big live show. So you're already pumped up to see Kenny in concert. And he comes out saying that there's no better place than here and now. And you're like, woo, yeah. Who can argue with that? There is no better place than here and now. I'm at a freaking Kenny Chesney concert with my girl, and I got my beer in my hand, and whatever. We're just, it's Friday night, and we're just having a
You're going to get
blast.
a positive response from that on when you're on the stage. Yeah, it's going to work.
Yeah, you're basically just singing like, isn't it great to be right here at my show? And there's no better place for me either than being right here, right now with you. That serves his audience, right? And so it's cool that he's speaking to the audience. In the chorus, it talks about, here and now, nowhere else in the world right now, you and me, ain't it good to be alive? Ain't no better place, ain't no better time than here and now. Like you and me. Who's the you? Yeah. It's the audience. Yeah. He's singing right to them. Ain't no better place. You and me, right here, right now. No better place to be.
You can see on this song, you can see him set it up live. You know what? We are so happy you guys are out here. We're so blessed that you come see our live show and you take the time and spend your hard-earned money. You're down there working on the farm. You're working in the factory. And then you come down here and you spend your hard-earned money to hang out with us. We had to sing a song about it.
Yeah, I could see that, or even like first song to kick off a show, like kick it off with a new single here and now, like boom, here we are, here right now. Yeah. It's like it works so well for a live show, and that's important to think about as a writer's. Like, okay, for one thing, he's a live act, and so what's going to play live? What's going to make him feel cool and serve his audience when he's standing up there singing to them? This kind of thing is perfect for that. It's not rocket science, but it's right. Celebrating the moment with your fans. What better way to get a pop out of them, right? Than to celebrate right here, right now. It's kind of like saying, yeah, this is a party and this is great. Don't you agree? But it's also relevant over the radio or over a playlist. It's about being in the moment, living in the moment you're in. So kind of when is that not relevant? Yep. So it was great for live. I think that's really where he's going to knock it out. But also on the radio here and now. But it kind of works for wherever I am. If I'm driving around, whatever. If I'm cruising on Friday night or whatever I'm doing. I got 5 kids on cruising on Friday night. I'm changing diapers. But anyway, in a previous life,
hold on.
It's still relevant.
So I watched an older movie this weekend with Kimmy. It was Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
And you remember the movie, right? He's a big sports agent, and he gets fired from the big agency with all the big stars, and he's down to like what he thinks is 2 guys, and one is Cuba Gooding Jr., who's got like a lot of talent and a big attitude problem, and the other is like this up and coming kid who's going to go number 1 in the draft, and his name's Cush, and quarterback, from Texas, and he flies out to Texas to try to close the deal, and he shakes hands with the dad, and he thinks he closes the deal. And so he's like saved, right? Because the commission from that's going to launch his own company here, and he's going to move on. And as he's driving back, he's going through the radio, and he can't find the right song. And then boom, he hits with Tom Petty, Free Fallin', because I'm free. And he's just singing along with it, but it's like relevant to him right there because it just, he's free, right? He's free. Like he's free of the financial issue and the fear of being out on his own, and he just he thinks he did it. Of course, he ends up getting screwed on that, and he's got to work with Cuba and deal with the chip on his shoulder.
Exactly.
I just think about this song in a context like that, like whatever's going on. That is a feel good song, and whatever's going on with your life, like you turn that becomes relevant and immediately like applicable, like an overlay on whatever is going on in your life that's good right now. Like your first date. You leave, or your band just got that gig that you wanted, or you just got that promotion at work, or it's Friday,
or you just need Or you just need a reminder that, you know what, I'm chasing these 5 kids around, but this is awesome.
This is it. This is the good stuff right here.
This is here now. There's nothing better than right here, right now with these kids. Because the thing is, it's a universal idea, right? So who does this not kind of relate to? And it's a simple idea that's presented simply. So you don't have to pay close attention to a big story. There's nothing really tricky here. I mean, there's really intricate, good lyrical work, but it's all easily digestible. It's easy to get.
There's a couple whopper lyric lines in here that I've freaking loved.
There's some great ones, but you get it.
Yeah.
Right. You know, it's not like what? If
you miss the line before you're not going to get lost.
It's easy to keep up with this thing. So it's a positive, encouraging, aspirational song without being preachy. And for anthem stuff, that's what you want. You was like, it's simple. That big chorus is here and now. Ain't no better place, you and me, here and now. I mean, so super simple, but it's something that's going to kill live. Another lesson on this is be brand aware. So this song is also right on brand for Kenny. You know, the first verse talks about sip and shine in Tennessee. He is from East Tennessee, by the way. Don't forget that. And then the verse also talks about, you know, I've been to the islands and seen the sun go down on like a dozen different islands. You can tell it was written for him. You know, it fits his bio and it fits his brand very well. And the verses are pretty Chesney specific. I'll find a bit of the chorus here. But the chorus...
And now, nowhere else in this world tonight. You and me, ain't it good to be alive? Ain't no better place, ain't no better time than here and now. Everybody's waiting, but they're waiting on what? Better get to living, cause all we got is here and now.
So the verses are pretty specifically Kenny, kind of, you know?
And the big sing-along. Everybody can sing.
Big sing-along.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they can say it with Kenny, to Kenny.
And to each other.
It fits their moment. Or on the radio, to each other. And at the party, you know, with each other, at the house party or whatever. It's all this universal thing. But it's also on Kenny's brand, too. I mean, that makes sense for who he is as an artist, is in the moment, kind of the free spirit kind of thing, too. I mean, who doesn't not fit? Because we want to be that person that can live in the here and now anyway. So it's kind of aspirational that way. So the chorus and the idea of the chorus is very universal. So our specifics in the verses might differ, because I've not been on a dozen different islands watching the sun go down, that kind of thing. It doesn't matter, because you get that chord. And it's interesting because it's Kenny. You're like, yeah, that's my guy Kenny that I've known for years now on the radio telling me about his life. And I'm like, yeah, that's Kenny.
And it's relatable. So even if you're like a school teacher from Kentucky who takes spring break and goes to the Panhandle in Florida, and you're on a beach there, which is, you know, is what do they call that? The redneck Riviera right there. Or you're going to an island. Like it all makes sense.
Yeah. And same thing like Buffett. Buffett's so, you know, particular on a lot of his stuff that, you know, but it's a bit of escapism. We want to be that guy, even though I can't relate to the specifics in a ton of Buffett songs. I still love it, you know, because he's an old friend at this point. So our specifics may differ, but man, you hit that big old universal chorus and you're like, well, everybody can relate to that part. So, you know, so first verse talks about some of the cool stuff Chesney's done. Hey, you know, I've done cool stuff and been in some cool places too. Maybe not those particulars that he says, but I can still relate. The second verse talks about some of the places that didn't quite fit and the times that weren't so happy. And I can relate to that too. So it's interesting too. I want to point out each verse addresses a different part of the theme. So the good and bad aren't all mixed in together in both verses. So like verse 1 takes the good stuff. Like, hey, I've been seeing the skyline in New York City and I've been on a dozen different islands.
Why don't you read the first verse?
Yeah. It says, I've seen the skyline in New York City, fireflies in Tennessee, sipped a little shine from a paper sack that unlocked the horns off a Cadillac. Great line.
So great.
So great. I must have sat on a dozen islands. I've watched the sun sink into the sea. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt and the hat. But my favorite place to be is here and now. So a lot of imagery in there, a lot of fresh imagery. I mean, yeah, sip, you know, fireflies, whatever, sipped a little shine. Yeah. But it's from a paper sack. So this is a little fresher. And then that'll knock the horns off a Cadillac. Completely fresh. So
good, yeah.
Boss Hog. So good.
Big and little Enos Burdett.
The minute I heard that, I was like, yeah.
With their Cadillac, like, God, it's so good. Yeah, knock the horns off a Cadillac.
It's so good.
So
knock
good.
the horns off a Cadillac. And so good. Anyway, so that's all like positive stuff, right? It's been there, done that, got the T-shirt and the hat. These are all good things. And then the second verse, I'll read this for you. Think I fell in love for the first time with the Gulf of Mexico. Thought I found a true love in Malibu, but that water was a little too cold. Yeah, I left a few tears in the rear view, one or two that were hard to forget. Why you think we call the present? Because there ain't no better gift.
Why do you think we call the present the present? It's so good.
Because there ain't no better gift. So good. Yeah. And so this verse tackles some of the not as good places, not as good times, right? Thought I found true love in Malibu, but the water was a little too cold. Yeah. I left some tears in the rear view. So it's like, hey, not everything like in the first verse was all good. There's some bad stuff. It's a mixed bag. But why do you think we call the present? Because there's nothing better than right now. We all got some heartache behind us. And so since the verses tackle kind of different aspects of this theme, it keeps it fresh. It's not just more of the same in the second verse. It moves. And so it's still able to address a theme, but it's not the same all the way throughout. It keeps it fresh, keeps it a little more interesting, right? Plus the bridge. One thing about the bridge that we haven't talked about yet says, a lot of people dreaming about a one day, some days waiting just around the bend. I used to be one, wondering when they'd come, but now I'm living in here and now.
Yeah.
So it's talking about a lot of people are dreaming about someday. And the singer admits that he used to be that way, but now he's living in the here and now. So it's kind of a little aspirational for the listener. The listener can either be in that someday mode, and this encourages them to be like, if only for 3 minutes in this song, to be here and nowers, or they can relate that they used to be that way, and they can celebrate that they aren't that way anymore. Plus, it's kind of a way for Kenny to kind of wrap an arm around his audience and say, like, people like us live in the here and now. That Seth Godin quote, people like us do things like this.
Yep.
It's a little bit of like, hey, people like us live in the here and now. Yep. Us. This is us, me and you right now in this moment. So just a lot of good stuff in the song, man. I mean, that chorus hammers that hook here and now. It says it 3 times. It bookends the chorus. It appears in the middle, and it holds the longest notes in the song. So one listen, and there's no doubt what the title of this thing is.
I love it. It's a little of the aspirational good stuff. It's a little of I've gotten through some bad stuff. And then it's a little of you can do it too, because I changed my mindset, right? It's a mindset song.
But it's a mindset song, but it's not like this heavy, deep, kind of thing. It's just, it's celebrating.
Yeah.
It's a celebratory song. It's a celebration. And it talks about that kind of mindset stuff, but it does it in a light way that's easily accessible for the listener. It's not a big, heavy thing, but it's still talking about that stuff. I think you can be simple without being simplistic. I think this is one of the songs that's it's simple, but it's not simplistic. I mean, you have lines in there like knock the horns off a Cadillac. And there's so much like just little lyrical play in here. Let's see here. Looking at the second verse. Thought I found a true love in Malibu, but true love, boo butt, right? Just little things like that, but the water was a little too cold, which is figurative, right? It's like it's playing on different levels here. I left a few tears in the rear view. So tears, rear, few, view, like there's similar sounds going on in these lines. And then of course the great line, why do you think we call the present? Because there ain't no better gift than here and now. That's a great big
It's also
thought,
set up,
like
right? I just was thinking about lyrically, it's framed because there's that word play going on in the 2 lines before it with the vowel plays, right? With the similar sounds. And then they drop the bomb, right? Why do you think they call the present? And you're like, and there's no word play going on there. It's not scheming the first 2 lines. It's set up. It's teed up with those first 2 lines. It's got the smooth groove, and all of a sudden, bam! Why do you think they call the present? Lyrically, it smacks you across the face, and sonically, like linguistically, you're not fatigued by the word scheme, right? Like if you did the same word scheme in the 3rd line, you might be a little fatigued on it if they tried to set up the word scheme to match that bomb line, right? Why do you think they call the present? So that's interesting.
Right, yeah.
It's framed out.
Yeah. And why do you think we call the present? Because there ain't no better gift than here and now. So it flows right into that chorus. So there's so much good stuff going on in this song. And, you may love Chesney, you may hate him, but this is built for him. It's on brand. He obviously loves it. His fans are going to love it. And you have to respect that. Like, it's not rocket surgery. It's not brain science, right? But man, it's right. It's cool. It's right. And there's a lot of good craft in here. And another thing, this song is 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
That's like a CCR song, man. It's right up in your face and it's gone. And then you're like, I missed that. And it's gone. Like already you're like, I want to hear that again.
Yeah. Songs are trending a little shorter. And so it's like, wow, that got 2 verses, 3 choruses, and a bridge in there in 2:50. They're not playing around. It's tight.
First of all, tempo. And a guitar solo. I think like an 8-bar is an 8-bar guitar solo. I think it's not a 4-bar.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long, but
like an 8-bar, like a healthy guitar solo in there.
Yes, you noticed there was a guitar there.
Of course I did. You know, that's what I want.
Yeah, exactly. So it has all the stuff, but man, it gets it in under 3 minutes, which is great for radio, great for just everything these days. Short attention span. Like I said, songs are trending a little bit shorter. So if your songs are pushing 4 minutes, well, they better have a really good reason to be that long. You better make it really worth our time.
Yeah, man.
Because we just don't have the attention span much anymore.
In this. And some people like turn their nose up at it, right? Because it's pop country and they don't like it or whatever, but as if it was easy to do, I think. As if it was lowbrow.
This was not easy to do.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not, this isn't God Bless the Broken Road. And
no, it's not.
But to me, they're two different animals. You know what I mean?
Serving different purposes.
Exactly. Yeah. And still, I think whenever I hear a songwriter or an artist poo-poo the pop country kind of thing, I'm not a fan of Kenny Chesney. I'll tell you that right now. But there's a couple songs that just, this is a great one. Like, you just turned me on to this today. Like, this song. Because I was like, oh, why don't I know that song? It's like, and I'm like, is this new single? You're like, yeah, it's brand new. I'm like, oh, okay. That's why.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it yet. But, like, you know, American Kids, like, that is in my playlist right next to Dokken and Lynch Mob and Van Halen. And it is, because it's just a killer song, you know? And it's just a really great, it's just so well written that it really, it's in my regular rotation. And I think that the art of this and the simplicity of this is, it's so easy for musicians and for writers to be like, well, you know, because it's not as sophisticated and as deep as God Bless the Broken Road or something along that line. It's worth less. But it's like, man, let's see you do one, you know, like, this is tricky.
It is, because, and that's a great point, Johnny, because I got the memo. Kenny's looking for tempo stadium anthems. Okay. I don't really have a lot of those in my catalog. Yeah. You know, not much in the way of that kind of thing. And how come I'm not sitting on a stack of those? It's sneaky, because if, you know, you throw out the idea of here and now is the best place to be, I'm like, duh, obviously. I mean, like, what is there to that? But the way these dudes wrote this, it's so Kenny, it's so right down the middle, but well done. Yeah. Well done. So much, you know, that knocks the horns off a Cadillac. I've never heard that in a song before.
I haven't either.
And I can't, it's unforgettable. It's like, that's great. So there's still really good craft in there, and it feels good and it moves. And you can bet they wrote this in Kenny's vocal wheelhouse as well. And
you can just about bet that they got the same memo you got, and then they went and wrote it.
But this is what they wrote, and how come I didn't? Like, I could write that. And so that's the thing. It's making choices and making, you know, the right choices. Do I have the skill to write this lyric? Yeah. Now, knock the horns off Cadillac, that's a bar setter line. But I have the skill to write this lyric. Yeah. You know, there's like here and now, nowhere else in the world right now. You and me, ain't it good to be alive? No better place, no better time than here and now. Okay. Yeah, I can write that. Then how come I didn't? You know, I don't naturally think in those ways.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, here's the difference. It's the intention, right? It's the awareness of intention in good art. Right. It's the awareness of, like, when you learn about the paintings of the classic painters and stuff, and you learn about the spatial and the positive and the negative and the stuff that they did. This wasn't a mistake. Like, he didn't just crap out the Mona Lisa and then everybody's like, this is why it's genius. He knew what he was doing when he did that. It's the craft, right? And the craft comes with intention and forethought. That's why we do Song Title Challenge, right? Like, we're putting intention into the title and into the concept before you start to write the lyrics. I'll give you another example. And I always thought this was interesting, but I remember watching an interview with Def Leppard, and the intention was from High and Dry record, which was their second record. And they had a real big hit off of that with Bringing on the Heartbreak. That was in regular rotation on MTV. The first record, you know, Coming to America, they had like a small audience. They might have sold like 60,000 copies. That first record, the people from England snubbed their nose at them because they thought they were pandering to America. The album was called Coming to America. And they're like, well, you know, after, you know, what about us? You're British, you know? And so a lot of people didn't like that. And then the second one, they have Bringing on the Heartbreak. And that one sold about 280,000 copies. And then they go to work on Pyromania, which changed the world. But the intention on the arrangements was fascinating. And there's interviews with like Joe Elliott talking about the drum fills. First of all, what was the intention? This is going to be our big record. This has to be our big record. It's number 3, right? Otherwise, we're not going to last too much longer on this label. So we are going to be doing stadiums. Now, they did some stadium tours as opening acts for Bringing on the Heartbreak. But if they're going to be doing stadiums, and if you've ever, just think about going to a concert in a stadium. Like, I much prefer going to Alpine Valley outdoor and that big venue than going to an arena, because the arenas were so reflective. It was hard to hear. It's not as clean as in an outdoor shed, sonically speaking. And I'm a musician. Like, I want to hear what the guitar players are doing. I want to hear that right hand. I don't want it to just get lost in the party song chorus, right? But they were talking about drum fills. And they're like, okay, so we simplified the drum fills on this record. And they called it the Beatles drum fills, bop, 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 or beep, 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 beep. Yeah. Right. And I have used and overused and reused and worn that out in the studio when I'm working with artists and bands. Like when I go to do a demo, or I'm working with pro studio guys, like I don't have to tell them because they already know. They know exactly how to deliver that, and they already understand the intention behind it. It's a regular thing. But with the band, like typically drummers doing 2-bar or 4-bar drum fills into the chorus. And it's like, no. Let's just make this like 1 bar or 2 bars, do da 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 chill and now, But the intention is they're going to be in an arena, and that's going to translate better than the big, like say that for the drum solo. Yeah. It doesn't fly. And so here with the intention of this song is, okay, this is going to be an arena song. We're going to get it to Kenny. And I think for songwriters, for climbers out there to listen to this, man, what's the intention? So you're saying, and I'm going to connect this dot now, like, why didn't I write it? That's a great question everybody should be asking. Like, how many big arena feel-good sing-along anthems do you have in your arsenal right now to pitch? What if you're intentional and you say, you know what, I'm going to spend the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 2 months, and I'm going to just do some discipline, do nothing but focus on big arena sing-along songs and try to just do that. And I'll bet you come up with 1 or 2 real doozies, Yeah. I hope you come up with more.
Because people need those. They want to play those big shows. It's like, they want to level up. I talk about a thing in some of my teaching, GAPS, a backronym: growth, achievement, preaching or positioning, and songwriting. The gaps, you aim for the gaps in an artist's catalog. Try to fill those gaps with your song. And for, maybe not so much for Chesney is this a growth or achievement song, but for artists coming up that are trying to get to that arena thing, this could be like, I need that one. That kid's going to play huge in a live show arena to fill that space. I need that. Yes. So you're going to aim for their growth and going, they're on the upper trajectory and they're going to be playing these big things. We're going to give them something that rocks for that. Because if they're smart, they're going to be thinking, I need to reach the person in the back row. Maybe my sensitive ballads haven't done that. So yeah, it's funny just looking at it going, oh yeah, that's right there.
Yeah, and it's not by accident, is what I'm saying. When you hear like Mutt Lange and Joe Elliott talking about how they intentionally communicated the drum fills, like go and talk to an amateur drummer about that. I just play what I feel, man. Yeah, I know. But do it in 2 bars, 1 bar, like
just because you can play something more complicated doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, there's art in the space in between of what happens. And think about that. Like everybody right now listening to this podcast is thinking with their band, they're like, oh, I've had this conversation many times. Like, or I haven't thought about this, but this didn't happen. Those drum fills didn't happen by accident. He didn't just play what he felt. They said, do it this way, not exactly like, but it needs to be short, quick, and almost like no toms, right? There's this, it's not sophisticated, so it'll translate in an arena because this is what we're writing for, right? Just for the job you want, not for the job you have.
Right. Form should follow function, right? The function of this thing is big arena, tempo, anthem. Yeah. So they built it for that. Now, if just like, hey, I'm going to be racing, the Daytona 500. I'm going to build my car differently than if I'm going to swamp stock or a monster truck pull or something. I'm going to build it differently for the different purpose it's serving.
Yes. I mean, okay. So like on a promotion level, I don't want to get too far off the writing here, but Alora's first tour that we put her on was with this band called Texas Hippie Coalition. Alora's got anthemic rock, cool. It's rock and roll, And Texas Hippie Coalition like much heavier, right? I mean, the lead singer's this big, huge biker dude with a massive beard. THC, Texas Hippie Coalition, do all the math, okay? Their audience is all bikers. We had a music video for Alora's first single that we could have used to promote that tour. But it would have worked against us on that tour. It was important she went on that tour because it was her first tour and we wanted to get her out there. But we did a much heavier mashup of Billie Eilish's Bad Guy with Seven Nation Army. And the video we shot was a strobe light, dark, like really crazy red, blue lights. Like it was heavier because that was going to be received better by people who were also going to want to buy a ticket to see Texas Hippie Coalition. So know the audience. Right? Sometimes you got to call an audible. That was an audible. Like at the end, no, we're going to wait on releasing this, rather than being wound up and say, well, I got to release the video with the single. And it's like, no, but this tour's coming up and we want to get some mileage out of that. So let's just flip flop it and we release the video later. But it's know the audience. We're intentional about who's going to see this and why we're putting it out there.
Yep. So I think we've probably buttoned that song up pretty well. So I hope that's been helpful for you, climbers. Listen, if you want to write songs that artists want to sing, like Chesney wants to sing this, that fans want to hear, like his fans are going to eat this up, and that radio wants to play, and they're going to play this, I have a great workshop for you. It's called Song Ideas, From Blank Page to Finished Lyric. And it's available right now in the Songwriting Pro store. So it's a pre-recorded workshop. So it's a video. You can go get instant access to it whenever you're listening to this. So the course is designed to take you from a blank page to a new song idea, to a fully developed concept, to a finished lyric. So you'll learn a repeatable process that you can use to discover and develop strong song ideas again and again and again. And you'll also learn how to frame and focus those ideas for maximum commercial impact and appeal. So just like we've been breaking down this Kenny Chesney thing, we're going to help you build up a song along the same lines, not to write that same song that Kenny just released, but to learn how to think about who's my audience, who's my artist, who's my lane, how do I serve that artist, how do I serve their audience, how do I build this thing for maximum impact and appeal. So if you want to find more and better song ideas, if you want to finish more songs, impress more co-writers, and impact more listeners, this is the course for you. Like, how do I get it though? Well, you can get the details and instant access to the course right now at songwritingpro.com. Just click the store link under the resources tab and look for Song Ideas Video Workshop. Of course, you can also stay in touch with Songwriting Pro by downloading my free ebook, which is Think Like a Pro Songwriter. You can get that also at songwritingpro.com. It's at the link right in the top toolbar. It says, free gift, or you can go to giftfrombrent.com. So a lot of places.
There you go. All right, guys.
So that's what we got going on.
Well, that's killer. And one final note on this. Like we've talked before about because it's art and you can have multiple versions of songs, like editors have multiple cuts of their movies and take some of your songs that are maybe, low, slow tempo, ballady type stuff and just put some tempo to them to see what happens. Right. And focus on that big tempo arena anthem thing for 2 weeks and see how it turns out. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? What if you become like the go-to guy for up-tempo stuff? I mean, the go-to girl for up-tempo killer anthemic songs. I mean, it's just, there's so many people that aren't doing it. Almost every artist could use one of these.
It just seems in demand. So it's what they want, and they'll pay you like $1 million to do it.
A little fame.
So, what's the downside here?
All right. Well, hey, that brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode. Join the Climb community if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you love to consume your podcasts. Tell a friend about it. If you like it and it's helping you, it can help them. They can find some value too. And we're trying to get to 200 on the ratings and reviews on iTunes. So please take 30 seconds. Leave an honest rating and review and tell people what you think about it. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.